What if scaling up isn't about adding more hacks and hustle, but about upgrading the operator, becoming more aligned, more disciplined, and more energized? In this conversation, Ritchie Nkana, author of The Body and Bank Connection, How to Exercise Your Way to Financial Fitness, challenges you to stop building someone else's dream, sell the where, not the how, and bring the same energy home that you bring to your business. Like this episode, subscribe to our channel, and DM Future to continue this conversation. My name is Arjan Visser, human-centered futurist, and your host. Ritchie, welcome to the Alt Journey.
Thanks, Aaron. Great to be here.
Yeah, I was just so triggered by earlier conversations and even today's conversation before we go online. And I was just thinking, like, let's start with finding out what the difference is between a startup that burns out and a business that scales up. And we all know it's not the market, it's not the model, or even the money. It's probably always the founder who knows how to fuel their inner fire without consuming themselves. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a very good one. We've talked about this in the past. Is there's always this emphasis on when it comes to growth about more hustle. I think with this hustle come to culture, but I think the next level is when it comes to business, not predicated on more hustle. It's built on the operator being stronger. We're talking about that version of you that leads with more clarity, you know, energy and conviction in every domain of life. Like in this case, is how is it we can actually upgrade the operator behind the business? Because when the operator is strong, everything else, be it your business, your healthy relationship, scales faster, cleaner, without burnout. And that's what I've actually found.
Yeah. Well, but that's already an interesting one. It triggers something I saw, I think it was earlier this week, from Simon Sinek, who said that in the C-suite, every job title, every C level, it already tells what type of operator there are in the business, except the CEO. And he proposes that it should be the chief vision officer because he should be the operator of the vision instead of the operator of the execution, which immediately triggered for me the big question. Being a leader from the inside out, I need to know and be able to articulate what vision I have. Running a business, but also running my own life, running my household, being a steward of my influence and impact. So that is actually one of the hardest things when we are in a hustle culture, because in a hustle culture, the big trap is that we say, well, next year I will work a little bit harder. Does that solve that I'm not satisfied and maybe even losing track of myself? Uh, how am I evolving as a leader? How do I scale up? Or maybe the big word, how do I grow up?
Yeah. And I think you just pointed a very good point there, talking about that vision, right? In the case of leaders having that vision, it's one thing to have a vision, but can you still articulate that vision, I think, to the people that actually follow you? It's having that clarity. So I think the thing about it is people can be busy and a lot of people actually work hard. Working hard is a lot of people work hard, but are you making traction? Is that busyness aligned with your purpose? That's a different question. Right. It's almost like I feel like there's people who go to the gym like 7 days a week and have actually see no, see no change. You can be busy, but you're just making figure eights. But how is it that you can actually align that busyness or that hustle or that work you're putting in, that grind into the right direction. And it becomes a little bit more efficient that way in how you actually utilize that energy.
That that's that's a valid point. When you ask someone, "Can you share your vision?" then you're always surprised when the answer is, "Well, not right now, but I know it." And actually, the real answer should be, "Yes, I can." And then there's the words, the language that really articulates makes the vision stand out from the current affairs, the current reality. And even if you don't have full perspective, you have clarity about where we are going. And if the answer is, "I'm busy," I've learned recently, and that's mainly also through podcast guests, that the answer, "I'm busy," is actually the worst answer to give to a question, any question. Because, like you said, when you are aligned with your purpose, your identity, who you are becoming, and who you're created to be, you're fully invested. You're obedient to your calling. But being busy has the wrong resonance. It actually communicates, before we know it, an excuse we partner with ourselves. And the excuse is, "I'm too busy to slow down, to see the bigger picture. I'm too busy to reflect on what I've learned. I'm hustling through. I'm running, 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 running. And I'm delaying the moment where I develop the hindsight, the insight, the growth, the learning that actually I need to make a step up in my personal growth." So how do we tackle, because it's a huge pressure
Yeah.
being busy, because it feels like it's the tool that we need to master to accomplish things, to be successful. So how do we tackle it? How do we make sure that we got really into the growth zone as a leader?
Yeah, that's a very good one. I think to start off with, we need to have the energy. I think that's in operator's edge, you always start with energy as a starting point. You can have this vision, great vision, how you execute, or what you're planning on actually doing. But if you don't have the energy to execute, that's pointless, right? And going back to that vision is, especially if you're a leader, I think it's more about articulating. I think that's what's so hard about it. That's what makes it very difficult that people, when you ask people, what is your vision? Because for the most part, you find it's either extrinsic vision that they actually relaying, not really driven by their own maybe purpose, which is not aligned with them, which kills fulfillment. Or it could be a situation that they're just not able to articulate it enough, especially as a leader, because it's hard to articulate a vision. Because for the most part, a vision, you find it's not already in existence. But how is it you can actually articulate it so clearly that people actually see it as you see it? So in operators, I call this the architect. Like architects, right? They have the skyscraper, the design. They actually see it clearly before even a single brick is actually laid. But how is it you can actually articulate that vision of that skyscraper to somebody who's actually not seen it? It's not easy. And that's the reason why I think people shy away from that. And you find you more lean into somebody else's vision that they actually driving, their purpose that actually driving, right? But how is it you can actually own that? So I think, yeah, for the most part, yes, that's with energy in being able to execute and clarity of vision as well. If it is your vision, again, own it and be it your purpose, because that way it brings about that fulfillment. If you're a leader, are you clearly articulating that vision? Yes, at times it can be okay because it's hard to be able to articulate clear enough that people will be able to go like, right, okay, I see it as clearly as you see it. And that's the reason it's a lot more work. We have to keep on working at it and being able to do that.
That's a great example, being the architect of your business or of your life. It's not explaining the blueprints. It is envisioning and painting the picture, the outcome, how the fruit of all the labor, how it will look like, and share that. Actually, you sell it. You sell a direction. You sell a where to are we going, based on painting the picture how it will look when we arrive. So it's you create a path forward for your people with a purpose to finish the path. And that clarity is there for people to see, not to hear, not to know, but to see that it's worth to put in the energy. And I like how you connect that word energy. Then we have the topic of, does it align? Does what I architect as the future of my business is in alignment with my intrinsic motivation, who I'm becoming as a leader? And do the two things actually accelerate each other? And if it doesn't, we use word as like, I miss authenticity.
Oh yeah.
Because I hear something different than I see you do, see you become. But also I hear something that is different than what I see.
Oh yeah.
That's not miscommunication. That is authenticity is missing.
Or absolutely, alignment is missing right there.
So how can I make sure as a leader that I'm not architecting something that meets expectation, but it's fully aligned with who I am becoming? What is my intrinsic motivation? Is it supported? Is it, am I in flow? That's a phrase you hear a lot. So how can I make sure that it fuels me?
Yeah, I think about feeling, I think that is a very good point you just raised, because most part because it's so easy to be pushing, say, somebody else's purpose or extrinsic motivation that actually driving a particular purpose. Be it as a leader or as our own leader ourselves, right? Because we are own leaders as well. So I'll just give you an example. I'll give you two examples. I think one, I was talking to my son about this in the case of having clarity of vision and just being able, right? Are you aware of actually what you want to do? Because especially in the case of young people these days, I think so many influences coming through. You got social media and stuff like that, that they look at and go like, right, okay, that is what success looks like. But is it aligned with their purpose? What it is, the direction they want to take? And with that, I was talking to him, I gave an example, like in the case of like, we all have our own, we both wear glasses. So it's like, if I took your glasses and I put them on, my vision will be blurry, right? And if you took my glasses, it will be the same. So it's about finding follow your path. What is your prescription? And being my son, the way he is, we were like, "Oh, let's test it out." So we swap glasses. They go like, "You're right." I said, "Yes, I know I'm right." Because what? This is my prescription. So it's the same with vision, right? When it comes to vision, it comes to clarity, it's so aligned. Is it aligned with where you want to take your life, with your purpose? And I'll give you an example. Another example of one leader was actually coaching, who came through on paper, very, very successful. She pretty much had everything going, but she wasn't fulfilled. And when we go down to the bottom of it, is that she was chasing her father's purpose, her father's dream. And all these successes have been ticked off, with aligned with what her father wanted her to do. And the sad bit about it is her father had been gone 10 years, but she was still in this loop, right? So that is always a problem. So it's about how is it that we can be ensure be it our vision, be it our purpose, is aligned with what we want to do intrinsically ourselves. So I think that is a starting point to bring about that fulfillment. Otherwise, we'd just be running around in circles or we'd just be chasing this new shiny object because we're just not fulfilled. We're just not whole enough because we are pushing other people's agendas. And that is why it can be so hard again as a leader, if you're a leader, to be able to articulate that because you're the only one at tops who can see that vision very clearly. And being able to articulate it to people that cannot don't actually see it, which is okay. We just have to keep on working at it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you address two dimensions. If you want to live your dream, the dream of someone else has to go.
Yeah.
You can't live someone else's dream and have a vision because you've reduced yourself of being the architect to the house sitter. And that's failed because the house sitter doesn't have the authority to make decisions while the architect has. And in between the lines, I heard say like, or at least that's where my thinking was going. We send we as leaders we say we have a dream to build people,
Yeah.
um, so that we don't need people to build our dream. And we say that, and we already have a daytime job in aligning with that intention. At the other end, it also means we have to be really honest in our self-reflection. Aren't we building someone else's dream? It's not wrong, but it's something different and it doesn't align with carrying the vision, articulating the vision, modeling the way forward. And the next thing that I think that really connects to that, if you articulate your vision, you're not articulating how to get there. You articulate where to are we going
Absolutely.
and focus on articulating where we are going. If you focus on how we are doing it, you actually have killed the vision and you throw in another strategy of the previous vision where we already have arrived and ask your people to comply. So you take away the whole invitation for people to see it themselves, give their best, have their personal growth in finding out how to get there. Because the
I
how
love it.
question is most cases the first one that pops up in all of our minds, and it's not the most important one. It is where to and why are we going there? So how can people connect with you, get hold of your book because you're an author? Please share. How can people connect with you?
Yeah, I love it. I'm mostly on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I post pretty much on a daily basis. I think that's the best place to connect with me. And I've got some free resources as well on there. I've got an audit as well on some of these pieces we talked about. How is it you can scale without burning out? I'm looking at all these kind of four key roles, be the energy systems, your vision, your systems, and your relationships, and look at any gaps that you might have on there. And you can also find my book. My book website is www.40mbankconnection.com. There's some free resources on there again in relation to the book itself.
In the description are all the links. So for those who didn't finish the note taking, the link to the book, the LinkedIn profile of you, all the links are there, so people can connect. And I really encourage everyone to make use of that opportunity and get your free resources as well,
Awesome.
which actually makes us already closing the podcast with maybe the hardest question, and it's not a new question, but I'm just pondering about what you shared and what it did to me, and it sounds easy, maybe even cheesy, but it's I think the core of it. What if scaling up isn't adding more, but becoming more aligned, more disciplined, more energized? That's what I'm pondering. What if scaling up is not adding more, but it's all about becoming more? And in a way, more of me, more authentically me. What are your
Absolutely.
thoughts?
Absolutely. And I think all the pieces I think we talked about point to that one truth, right? That if we're looking for that sustainable success, it's not more about more hacks, more tactics. It's about upgrading the operator behind it all. And I think, how you just phrased it. I like it like he's imagining. Imagine yourself waking up energized, you know, leading your team with clarity with that vision we just talked about. You know, in the case of like going and scaling that business and coming home present and not drained. And imagine yourself being able to lead in that boardroom and on that kitchen table. That's the life we can build today and not eventually. I think that is something that what this does is that scaling is not about sacrifice. We can scale our business. We can be present to the things that actually matter to us without much of a sacrifice.
Coming home energized. That sounds like a challenge. And I think it's also when we talk to intrinsic motivation, when do I know that I'm aligned with my inner flame, my intrinsic motivation? When do I know that I didn't give it away based on external expectation or extrinsic motivation? And one of the things is joy, not feeling drained, feeling energized. And it feels like very hard to quantify, but I think we always know when we have the joy and the energy when we come home.
Absolutely. It's all about full spectrum because it's very easy to be successful. You're physically at home, but not really present. But how is it we can change that? Success is not just based on business, but how relationships actually we build. Relationships pretty much show everything that we've got. And it starts be it at home. The relationship we build at home, the relationship we build in our workplaces, the network that we have, right? Because that environment as well is actually huge in not just driving beat up business, but also energy systems as well. Relationships pretty much fuel everything.
Yeah. And it's your inner circle, your household.
Yeah.
It's where you model being example, an inspiration as a leader. And at the other side, it's maybe the other side of the coin. It's also where you are the most raw version of yourself. And we tend to say when our kids were small, and now we actually say it to each other, my wife and I, isn't it time to go back to the beginning of the driveway and first shake off the world instead of taking it into the house? Because, all skills, all behavioral, all expressions that are social acceptable, they never come into the house. You come with the raw version, you unload. You you
Yeah.
you you let go your guard. And but that's what you model your authentic self to your family, to your kids, to the next generation leader. They will reflect it. That's the grace of your own household. They will give you 100% honest feedback by reflecting back to you how they experience your raw expression. But you flip it. You say now, it's not about taking the world in, it's taking the energy home, because then you release to the next generation. You multiply the what you have been doing got you in flow. You changed the world. You loved it. You come home. This is the first fruit, not the paycheck. Energy, the joy. I think that is such a deep wisdom. Although it sounds so easy, but it's not at all.
Oh, yeah.
It's maybe the hardest moment of the day.
Absolutely. We need to make conscious, deliberate efforts to actually do that. One of the weekly rituals or audits I do, like in my case, is every Thursday, ask my kids, was I present this week? Because at times it's easy to drift. And with life takes over, we drift. But are we present? Maybe with people that matter to us. Do we have systems in place to be able to keep us in check, to have those checks and balances in all these areas? So we're not just drifting, but we are intentional. We are making that deliberate, conscious effort to upgrade in all these areas. Otherwise, we just find ourselves drifting and conforming to what life actually throws at us. And that's a danger.
Yeah, and even when I'm home first and I finish some work, opening my laptop, closing my laptop when someone else enters the house. Because no problem working on the dining table or the kitchen table, but it's their house too. So I love that awareness. I think that is a really healthy moment because this creates the momentum. This creates the momentum in your personal growth as a leader, which will overflow in your business that's aligned with your authority. But now there is an energy source in it
Yeah.
that you're not consuming, you're not burning out, you're adding to the energy because then you get the momentum in your growth, in your relationships, in your business, which is the place for other people to experience their growth. What are the three takeaways beyond this? Well, I would say my takeaway.
I think the key takeaway, I think it can just be summed up in that it's sort of about upgrade the operator behind it all, right? Scaling without you don't need to burn out. I think right now, especially in this day and age, it's so easy to be consumed um with everything that's going on. But it doesn't have to be that way. It's all about upgrading the operator behind it all. I think in just those few words, upgrade the operator behind it all and everything else scales cleaner, faster without burnout.
Yeah, operator. Actually, it's a great word to replace officer in the C titles. So if you're the CFO, you're the chief financial operator, which means you operate the spark, you operate the fire, the energy around the finance